existing and proposed easements, right-of-ways, driveways, buildings, and other structures.
That's shown on sheet 2. We get into the driveways, septic, house locations in the existing.
Water courses, ponds, standing water, rock edges, stone walls, and other natural features, existing and proposed foliage lines, and other open space to be preserved. Sorry, purchased or.
So there's stone walls that wrap essentially the entire parcel, and then two main wetland complexes, one running from the power line that was all delineated, and then one running through the center of the lot line here. And then this plan is showing the proposed site work area.
Number 11, location and profiles of existing proposed water main, sewers, culverts, drains, and connections.
There is none. We're not proposing any drainage.
Location of perk test results. That was a waiver because you guys were doing.
Yeah, we're actually showing the 4K areas on most.
Number 13, location of 75-foot well radius on property.
We're actually showing 100-foot radiuses now,
Okay.
just because we're showing that we can fit a 100-foot radius to have more flow if need be. There was some mention about these lots having by right ADUs being available, so we figured showing 100 would give you up to 4 or 6 bedrooms rather than.
Yeah. And that's the circles on this plan we have here, correct?
Yep.
So what is the proposed number of lots total at the current time? 1, 2, 3,
6.
4, 5, 6.
So it's the existing house plus 5 additional.
Location of existing proposed driveways.
Yep, those are all shown, coming in right off the road.
Base flood elevations, not available. Plans for drainage and or soil erosion and sediment control.
As far as drainage goes, we don't have any proposed drainage structures, like culverts or basins or anything. The only area that we're proposing sediment control is where we have a well proposed within the 25-foot buffer. We're gonna have that whole area silt fenced to protect the wetlands from any runoff. All other work is outside the 25-foot buffer.
Copy of state subdivision approval or certificate from a septic designer.
This is signed by a septic designer. We typically don't go for the subdivision until after it's determined.
Copy of driveway permit, if applicable. Probably not done yet.
We haven't done that yet because we're waiting on how many lots and the exact locations. It feels like that goes hand in hand.
Copy of any other state or federal permits.
We're under the threshold for alteration of terrain, so all we would need is subdivision and septic permits after this gets approved by the board, which could be a condition.
Good. Copy of deed restrictions.
There's no deed restrictions.
Copy of deeds covering land to be used for public easement rights of way. Just anything says NA.
The only thing would be this power line. There's an easement for the power line.
Existing proposed streets with names, classifications, widths of travel service, and right of way.
So we're showing the existing class 6 road down here, which is South Street, a variable width, and then we have South Main Street up here, showing where the class 5 ends and the class 6 begins, and then we're not proposing any new roads.
You meant class 5.
I meant class 5,
Yeah.
class 5 down here, and then class 6 up.
Probably not applicable, but final road profile, center line, station, and cross sections.
No, we're not proposing any roads.
Existing and proposed topographic contours based upon the USGS topographical data with spot elevations where necessary.
So we're showing all the existing contours. We haven't shown any proposed contours just because we're showing house box footprints and each house might be different, so it's hard to design without knowing the exact house that you're gonna have, but they're gonna be fairly straightforward to design. And they're all gonna fit outside of the 75-foot buffer for the house.
Soil data designated wetlands and floodplains.
Yep, so we delineated the wetlands, we're showing all the different soil types based on NRCS soil data, and then all of our test pit information is shown on the next sheet.
Any slopes over 35% gradient.
Those are shown with these hatchings, mostly up the steep sections up in the power lines, and then one small steep section here.
Drinking water supply areas.
There is no drinking water suppliers.
Existing or planned recreational trails on or adjacent to parcel.
We don't have any specific planned trails, but we are leaving this area as open space that could be utilized to have trails throughout it.
Archaeological features. So there's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing out there.
All right. Looks like that's all. Any questions from the board on the application checklist? Staff report, right.
I think that's a staff report for a prior application. I don't think we have one for this application,
Yeah, it's just,
for this particular design.
this one still covers under, where to put that?
If you never mind.
To be considered complete, you have to do grant the waiver though. So I'll read off the waiver they requested. That still holds true even though, because it requires a cost-based subdivision. Graz Engineering, 332 South Street subdivision, waiver request letter. This letter is written to request a waiver from the Troy Zone Ordinance, Article 4, Conservation Subdivisions. Specifically, a waiver is requested from section F.1.b, in which conservation subdivisions require all new lots to front on interior road. This proposed subdivision utilizes and frontage an existing Class 5 road in order to reduce the total site work and impervious area required. Additionally, a waiver is requested from section F.2.ci, in which 12% of the lot shall be dedicated to open space that contains no wetlands or slopes over 12%. Due to the nature of the lot, with the main wetland complex running through the center, this criterion is unachievable. The houses are situated in the most suitable locations, close to the road with septics in the rear. The open space will function in the way it is intended, providing a buffer from the development to South Main Street, and allowing the residents to utilize the open space to access South Main Street and the power lines. The lot in which the subdivision is proposed exists as a long, narrow lot containing 17.599 acres and 1,939.8 feet of frontage on a Class 5 road, with 1,392.3 feet of frontage on a Class 6 road located in the rear of the lot. As designed with all the proposed frontage for lot access located in the existing Class 5 road, the subdivision meets the intent of the conservation subdivision without the need for an internal road to be developed. Open space is being proposed in the rear of the lot with direct access from each of the proposed lots. 22% of the lot is being proposed as open space, allowing all lots to access South Main Street as well as the power lines that exist in the east of the lot. I'm gonna open up. Does anyone on the board have questions on that or thoughts? Did you bring the plan that showed the disturbance if you put a road in?
Yes, I did. You would essentially be disturbing everything shown here in black if you were to build a road, which would be around 277,000 square feet, because you would need all the area for the road, you would need to come in 2 different locations because cul-de-sacs aren't allowed. And then you would need to do stormwater facilities, just because of the amount of disturbance and impervious area, you'd have to do likely a big basin back there, and you'd actually have to do a wetlands crossing.
And then you have one that shows
Yep.
disturbance unproposed.
So I propose it's gonna be about 90,000 square feet of regrading, to construct 5 new houses, and leave the existing house untouched.
So you say 5, so one of those blacked out spots was that 2?
Yeah, there's 2 driveways that come in right next to each other, and that whole area will kind of be regraded together.
You said that's 97,000 square feet?
No, 90,141.
So that's roughly a third of the area eroded.
Yes, yeah.
What percentage of the open spaces of the property?
22% of the property is left to open space. It's 3.873 acres out of the 17.59.
Kyle,
Yes.
I was just reading the
Carol.
staff report,
Yeah.
and her staff report talks about the waiver and the acceptance of the application is complete when he was applying for a conventional subdivision. And now he's not, he's applying for a conservation subdivision. So I'm wondering if her statement here about granting the waiver prior to determining the application complete applies. 'Cause what I'd like to do, if we can, is open it up for public hearings, so the public can comment both on the waiver.
Well, we
and,
have to, I think we asked that last week I was here, was you have to approve the waiver to go to public hearing because it makes the application complete.
Right, but I think that applied to the waiver he was asking to do a conventional subdivision. The waiver he's asking for now is just some provisions of the conservation subdivision. So he's really changed the nature of the waiver he's asking for.
Wasn't the first waiver also because of conservation subdivision, because you had 8?
He was, at that time, he was trying to waive doing a conservation subdivision and doing a conventional subdivision. Now, he's proposing doing a conservation subdivision. So it's a different type of waiver. He was asking to waive
The entire
the
section.
entire section. And now he's just asking to waive provisions within the section.
Which would make sense if it's just sections of the subdivision, we go to public hearing, we hear merits on it.
Because I'd like to hear the public's comments on the waiver.
Is the board in agreement on that? Do you feel that's correct? I can see, since he's not requesting to waive the entire conservation subdivision ordinance. By accepting as complete without accepting the waiver, we can at least discuss the waiver with the public.
It's similar to what we did with the solar plan, where we accepted the site plan as
Yeah.
complete, and then we figured
Discuss
out
the
whether we
waivers,
did
because the
the
waivers
waivers
is
or
a
not.
portion of it, not
Right,
entire.
because he can still do a conservation subdivision even if we deny the waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by bringing it to public, you can ask for changes.
Yeah.
if needs be.
Which is what I'd like to do. I just know your original one,
Right. You-
2 meetings ago, because you wanted the whole thing waived,
Right.
I know we had to accept it. All right, is there a motion to accept the application as complete?
I move to accept the application as complete.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Nays? All right, application is accepted as complete. Move to the public portion, where I'll probably have you first do is probably do a presentation of what your latest plan is, and then we'll move to public.
Okay. Um, So my name is Josh Johnson with Graz Engineering, representing Jameson Van Dyke on this lot. It's map 14, lot 12C, which we're proposing to do a conservation subdivision, requesting a waiver from the requirement of constructing a road and having all lots run on interior road. The reason for this is because we have 1,939 feet along an existing class 5 road that's most suitable for bringing driveways in from the lots right off the existing road rather than go through the process of constructing a road. So what we're doing here, basically, this is the Green Farm at 332 South Street. And we want to leave this lot with 4.446 acres, 4.446 acres and 833.12 feet of frontage. And then we're gonna be leaving 3 lots in the middle with just about 2 acres and over 200 feet of frontage. So moving down here, lot 5 would have 200.50, lot 4 would have 282.85, and lot 3 would have 282.19. And then these lots will be just about 1.6 acres each, with over 200 feet of frontage on South Street, and we'd be leaving this parcel in the rear is open space with 3.873 acres. And there is access to this open space from each of the lots, so we'd have this strip here from lot 1 is about a 20-foot strip for them to access the open space, and then the rest of them would have easier access right through, and they'd have the option to go down and access South Main Street or come up to the power lines where I know there's a trail that goes down through. Getting into the site layout a little bit,